What's going on, YouTube? We're here talking about RC. We're gonna get into it. We've got a bunch of trucks running around. I've got a bunch of cars, gas, electric. I've crashed helicopters and planes, drones, you name it. I've crashed a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to restore some things. We're going to upgrade some things. We're going to start with some of the simpler projects and just start going around. I did have a buddy who called me up and said, hey, I had a bunch of your RC stuff. I wanted to bring it back, and I forgot exactly how much he had. So we're going to get into all that. There's a lot of old stuff there. We'll see what we can rehab. Everything is going to run. So let's get into it. Alright, I've been playing with RC cars for a little while. 30 some years. What we have here is a Rebo chassis for a Rebo 3.3 nitro. And we're going to try to restore this car. I threw it up in the shed, all the rubber dry rotted on it. I put it away with fuel in it. So I don't even know if we can get the motor to start again. I don't know if we can rehab the gas tank. But I bought a bunch of kits. So I've gone through and I've cleaned the chassis, stripped it bare, and we're going to build it back from here. This is the Rebo 3.3 chassis, which is an extended chassis, so we'll try to restore it back to stock as best possible. But because this is a car I owned before, I jammed a bunch of hop-up stuff on it. I'm pretty sure it was all Traxxas stuff. Lesson I learned in RC: do not over tighten the screws that go into plastic. In case you're wondering, I do have fantasies of a cool little upgrade of servos, but right now we're just going to restore the truck with what we got. Alright, junk servos thrown back in. These are servo guards. Extra piece to break off. But they do work with the servo mount, so put them back together. This is probably some of the stuff a racer will tell you to get rid of. These are little clips, snap in, maintaining the wires. Believe it or not, it's nice to have that kind of stuff. Servos in. I didn't take the horns off, I didn't adjust any of that. Receiver box. I've actually gutted it and taken out the battery. Here's the old AM receiver. We are not going to put that back in, but that's something we'll get to in a later date. I don't even have that remote anymore. So that's where your battery goes. And those wires actually go to my switch, so I left all that intact. I'm trying to turn the truck on and off. I originally had pulled, this truck had forward and reverse, so we had pulled the reverse out of it. Never really liked reversing my gas trucks. We did do a center differential upgrade and the rear brake, but that's all that remains from the original electrical equipment on this side. There will be a new receiver. But I've got a Spectrum radio that I've been working with. It holds 20 models. And I think the receiver I found was like $35, so it's pretty cheap. Make sure it's off. That's the charging port. Metal screw into plastic. Do not over tighten. And we're not going to put the battery back until we have a chance to try to rehab it. It's a 6-volt NEM. It's been sitting in this truck for I don't know how long. And I did finally have to replace it. But we'll see if we can rehab the one we got. Alright. That's the receiver box. Actually, let's tuck those away for now. So that was 3 screws for the receiver box. This screw you actually take off or pull the battery out, the receiver battery. All the folks who live in electric don't know about that, but you know. Alright, next up. This was the box that controlled, it had the throttle. I believe this had like the Opti drive or something in it. It housed a servo for the reverse. We changed some things around. It does have linkage for the rear brake in it now. This is the linkage for the front brake, and this is the throttle linkage. This one's only 2 screws. Alright, linkage box in. This wire is for the servo for the throttle and the brakes. Share the same servo. So this will go to the front brake, the rear brake, and then the throttle. This is the handle, so you carry the truck around. This works with another piece. They have a brace that goes up around the motor. Here's the brace. This goes on the outside. So initially it just bolts in. A little nub there. Falls into the chassis. So when we install the motor mount, it'll lock it in even better. Kind of just try to match the bolt holes up. Alright, it's starting to come back together. It actually might be something for a second. Alright, battery change. Here we go. Alright, there's a few more simple pieces to install on the chassis. This is a shock mount for the front. Here's the one for the rear. It's a little hard to get them confused. There's the one for the front. Alright, the shock tower mounts, or shock mounts. They don't mount to the shock tower. This is a guide for a drive shaft. And I'm pretty sure there's one more. This one's a little bit different. So I'm pretty sure that's the correct way, because if you put it in the other way, the bolt hole doesn't match up. Now we start getting to some of the harder stuff. The holes up front for the chassis are for the suspension, the front suspension. The ones in the rear for the rear suspension. These holes are for actually more wire management, but that was for the easy start system. We're not going to do that. We're going to put a pull start on the truck. So we're just going to have to leave all that off because we're not going to need it. So here's the old motor mount. And the problem is there's these little nubs. One there, obviously it's broken. One there, that's broken. If you look, the motor mount is broken. And you can see that the mount is cracked right here. So if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure we tried to jump the truck. And that may have been the result. So, we bought Tractus 5360, exact same motor mount. Hopefully we don't destroy this one like we destroyed the last one. A little bit of a process to put these in, but we'll go ahead and get that done. Alright, so you got to take the whole thing apart. These you get pretty good squeeze because it's metal and metal. But this is like a pot metal, so you can strip it. Alright, motor mount. Nope, they're the same way. So, it's not matching up correctly. And we're not going to go ahead and crank that one down because it's a swivel point for that motor mount. We still got to mount the motor and really good stuff. And here comes the tricky part. So you got to slide these little washers. So we've gone ahead and attached the throttle linkage so we maintain our bolt. So we can go ahead and bolt ourselves in. Make it a little snug. We don't need everything flopping around for now. Because we have the extra bolts, we're going to go ahead and just throw those in the mount for now. Until we're ready to put the motor back in. But we have a viable motor mount for now.